I was listening to the podcast Heart Wisdom the other day. It's offered through the Insight Meditation Center and often led by the incredible Jack Kornfeld. Do any of you know this podcast? Get to know it. Yeah, I see some nodding heads. It's fantastic. And in it, he shared a story of a woman who had told him about her daily walk to the train to go to work, where she would pass by the same man sitting on the curb, asking for money or food. And she would give of these things when she could. But she confessed to Jack that she was afraid to look into his eyes, because if she did, she said this part through tears, if she did, she was afraid that he'd be sleeping on her couch next week. And then Jack said, in the beautiful ways that he does, that this story expresses the natural longing of the heart, which is to care for one another in a deep, transforming way. The natural longing of the heart. And that this ultimately is what we want and who we are. And so often we don't know how to do it or what to do with it amid a world and time where so many are suffering. But that it is what we want as human beings. It is who we are, the natural orientation of our heart, to care for one another. This story made me reflect on the ways that I too have averted my gaze in the face of human suffering. And those little voices of fear in my head, they tell me, oh God, don't look, don't listen. Your heart can't possibly be big enough to hold it all. And yet, there is this wisdom that we all have about turning towards one another in care and compassion, right? Even if we share similar voices of fear that keep us averting our eyes. Or as our Sufi poet today writes, think about it. Think about it, this great pull in us to connect. And I would say for myself, and I sense I'm not alone, it just feels off when we don't, right? It doesn't feel right. That's my experience. It doesn't feel right. And over continued time, and I sense you know this as well, what we put in place to cut ourselves off from one another because we think our hearts are big enough to hold the pain of the world, it does great and grave harm to us, don't you think? It makes possible the enacting of great and grave harm to others. One might conclude that the great evils of the world at the hands of humans, our fellows, are enacted by those who have lost their heart, their capacity for care and compassion, and there is always a story there, and it is always a tragic one. We don't lose our hearts completely, naturally. A few years back, I was given what I believe to be the correct understanding of the word sin. Now, don't jump out of your seats just yet. by Franciscan theologian Father Richard Rohr. See if you like it. Sin, a chosen state of separation from God. And as Unitarian Universalists, we know that this word God has many names. So consider the power of this interpretation when we put it in different terms. A chosen state of separation from our planet, from humanity, from love. A chosen state of separation from love. Yeah. From compassion. Well, this helps us understand America's original sin, right? The collective chosen state of separation from humanity and love. A chosen state of separation from ourselves, our divine bodies and beings. Our short time on this earth, it might simply be an exercise in losing our hearts, choosing to separate or turn away from, avert our gazes, and then finding them again, turning towards our planet, humanity, love, compassion, lost and found, away and returned. We sing, Spirit of life, come unto me. Well, where did it go? I guess it is. We have to keep calling it back. And I think life is all about this continued being broken open and sealing ourselves up and opening, and just like our lungs do, and nature has a lot to teach us about this. The wonderful Lutheran pastor, Reverend Nadia Boltz-Weber, says her whole life is about daily holy heart transplants. I think I once called them, we need a holy defibrillator, right? Every day that we turn towards. You know, one of my favorite stories about Lydia Mariah Child, and Lydia mentioned this earlier, is what happened to her after meeting and listening to the great abolitionist, William Lloyd Garrison. She wrote, "Old dreams vanished, old associates departed, and all things became new." All things became new. And that was Lydia's great conversion story, which is another way of understanding turning towards her own holy heart transplant, being broken open so that all things become new. I think that's what we're all trying for and failing at and trying again at, right? You know, our theme this month is justice and equity, and I really hope you've seen and read some of my communications about these values being two of the 6 arms of our faith's new purpose, which will replace our existing principles and sources and is being voted on in June at our General Assembly. And they're kind of better imagined as petals, right? And the center of these petals is, okay, we're going to get there. We're going to know all of them sometime soon. But yes, love. Love is the center. With love and heart at the center, we know where to stand. And we know how to respond. We make our hearts big enough to hold all of these values that seem too big to bear. For justice and equity cannot truly be lived out without heart and love, right? And I know these are really hard times, my friends. We are undone. There's no easy way to say that. We have been averting our eyes, choosing to turn away from one another for thousands of years. These are hard times, and our bodies and souls, our hearts can't take anymore, right? Because it's not natural. And we are also part of a great remaking. That's what happens when things come undone. And we feel this too. I feel it. And I hope you access it and lift up thanks for this great remaking and turning that we're a part of. I am often asked about where and how I stand up to injustices and the inequities of the world, and my response is fairly simple: with a loving and compassionate heart for everybody. That's where I take a stand. That is the only place I know how to stand. And this has taken and continues to take a lot of work. I'm not talking about sentimental, floppy, sloppy love and compassion, right? Believing that my heart is big enough to hold the tears and suffering and harm, sometimes as a result of my words, my actions or inactions, or how I live and get to live and benefit from as a white person, that my heart is big enough to face this and not avert my eyes, and resilient enough to be broken open and transformed by my fellows, their truth and their pain. This is where I take a stand and fail at standing and try for again and again. I work to meet the world like this every day with everyone who crosses my path, and to tell about it, and to also tell you, as you know, about my failings. I have come to accept that I cannot fix this world. Newsflash, you can't either. I want you to really hear that. What we humans do to one another, it's hard to say out loud, it's overwhelming, and you're not going to fix it. You're not going to fix it all. It is hubris to think you can. It is your job to do your part. Your part, just yours, and yours alone. And to commit yourself to the work needed to turn towards the world with an open heart so that you can be broken open by it and tell about it. And if you can do this and work on this every day with all your might, with love at your center, you will know where to stand and what is yours to do, your part. The martyred San Salvadorian Archbishop Oscar Romero says it far better. We cannot do everything, and there is a sense of liberation in that. This enables us to do something, and to do it well. It may be incomplete, but it is a beginning, a step along the way. An opportunity for God's grace, love, to enter and do the rest. And so the questions I hope you will leave with, or keep asking, for I know you all ask these questions a lot. What do you need to commit yourself to, so that, like our Lydia, all things might become new in the face of your fellows? Not fix everything, but rather be a person of love and heart, care and compassion, as Nick talked about in his journey of faith, to everyone. What do you need to commit yourself, to find yourself to that, and play your part in the great remaking? And I hope you really will get serious about these questions and share with one another about the practices in your lives that help with this, your turnings aways and turning towards that have helped you better look this world in the eye. Do that with one another. That's what church is for, right? And to say help when you're just lost and away from yourself and others. And so let's listen to the words of our poet Hafez again, the wisdom that he calls with that moon language. Admit something, he says. Everyone you see, you say to them, love me. Love me. Of course, you do not do this out loud, otherwise someone might call the cops. But still, though, think about this great pull in us to connect. Why not become the one who lives with a full moon in each eye that is always saying with that sweet moon language what every other eye in this world is dying to hear? Well, may we all continue to do our part to be builders of a new remaking, broken open in all things. And to that I say amen.